Good to see everyone. I'm so happy to see all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So this is the CEO of My Success Tour. You all are here. I'm so happy to see you. There's a lot of people that are streaming online. And I want to thank everybody that's streaming online that took time out of their day to be here with us. And I'm so excited to give you this CEO address in a sense because we're talking about you versus you. All right, so the first you in you versus you is understanding you. And understanding you is the understanding what has happened to you to help shape who you are. Now, when you think about understanding you, all of us have different life experiences. And I want you to consider for a minute that we've all been through different things. Now, you know, it doesn't matter if you had a lot of resources. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you were in. There were experiences. And sometimes people who had it all still felt like they didn't have anything. And so the different experiences that we go through, they shape our perceptions, our emotions, and they even create patterns. Now, if you all start thinking about things you've been through that are still with you. Now, I never forget we was playing hide and seek. I don't know if y'all remember that game back in the day. And I hid in this toy chest. And I thought I was hiding. It was a little small chest, and I got in there, and someone sat on it. And I couldn't get out. And it was dark. I could barely move. And to this day, I'm traumatized by being in close quarters that I feel claustrophobic. Now, there are things that you can go through that in your mind was traumatic, but might be simple to someone else, and it goes and carries with you throughout the rest of your life. Now, that's a kind of comical example, but what about things that impact how you feel about people, how you feel about relationships, how you feel about people that you trusted, or things that went wrong, or things that hurt you? All of these things, our brain is wired in a way when something is traumatic, we remember it more. So these experiences create patterns, they create opinions, they create thoughts that tend to come up. All it takes is a trigger and you go right back to that place. So this is really important to understand what happened to you, because this is what shaped a lot of the things that we're going to talk about here in a minute. Now, here's a critical question. Is your inner adult managing your childhood, or is your inner child managing your adulthood? And that's a critical question. Now, what do y'all think that means? Why do you think that's important? Just yell it out. What if my inner adult is managing my childhood? Do you think that's good? No. No? All right. What about if my inner child is managing my adulthood? Do you think that's good? No. So y'all don't think nothing is good. Okay, so nothing is good. So actually, there are dangers with both. But the key is that you notice on both sides, the child is there. So what does that mean? That what happened to us when we were young, it still carries forward with us in some way, and that can be good or bad. So when you think about your inner child managing your adulthood, sometimes as an adult, we're still making decisions based on things that happened to us a long time ago. It's shaping how we interact with people, how we conduct business, how we interact in our careers, how we begin to make decisions that have to do with getting people to work with us, what we expect from other people. The same thing, if we have an adult on the inside that can manage the childhood, I actually feel this is actually better, because if you are an adult and you're acting like an adult, you see your childhood and you're managing it. That is actually better than you being an adult and your inner child is managing how you act as an adult. Does that make sense? So you really want to be more on the left side here, because you want to grow up and mature enough where you can see how did the things that happened to you a long time ago, how does it influence you, but you have to manage it. You can't get rid of it, but you have to manage it. All right. So this is the first you in you versus you. The you that was shaped by our past, the you that came from our background, the you that was shaped by life experiences. That's the first you. Now, can you all say becoming you? Becoming you. Now, becoming you has to do with the second you in you versus you. This is the you that we want to become. This is what is in our mind. Now, before we go into that, now I want to talk about some of these brands up here. And I want you to want to know from you, when you see these brands, what do they mean to you? Now, when you see Google, what does that mean to you? Anybody? Search. Good. Anything else? Information. Private. Well, somebody said privacy. I don't know. Does that mean you might not have any? I don't know. So, okay. All right. What about Amazon? What is it? Shopping. Delivery. What? Okay. Take over the world. Yeah. They're about taking over the world. That's about right. So Amazon, you think about a lot of different things for sure. What about Stanford University? Excellence. Professional education. Prestige. High. Somebody said high. Costs too much. Okay. All right. Good. Now, what about Microsoft? Computer, data processor. Okay, all right, all right. Now, what about Toyota? Car, reliable, car note. Somebody said car note. Okay, that means they got a Toyota. I see. You think about your car note when you see Toyota. Now, I happen to be an Android user. I'm sorry, I happen to be an Android user. See, there's always a feud. But in all fairness, what do you think about when you think about Apple? All right. So Apple actually is, what is their motto is think different, right? And you got to give Apple credit. They were one of the first to do some of the greatest things we've seen in technology. Rest in peace to Steve Jobs, but such an innovative thinking, an innovative company, an innovative approach. But the key to all of this is you were able to tell me something that these brands meant to you. And the reason you were able to do that is because these brands told you something about themselves, and then they did something to reinforce what they told you so that they can make a believer out of you. Now, if they just said it and didn't do it, do you think the brand would work? No, so they have to say it and do it. So the question for you, what is your brand? I want you to think a minute about You Inc. That means stands for incorporated. If you are a business, what is your brand? I want you to think about that. Somebody said, I know I'm excellent. I heard you. I don't know who you are. So if I put your name and said Inc., what is your brand? And I want you to think about that for a minute, because when people hear my name, when people hear your name, what is it? What does it mean? And more importantly, what do you want it to mean? So I want you to think about that. What do you want it to mean? This is what we mean in that second you in you versus you, is I'm thinking about, what do I want my name to mean? What do I want to matter about my life? Now, when you think about being a father, being a mother, being a husband, being a wife, being a brother, being a sister, being an entrepreneur, being successful in your career, whatever it is that you are doing, whatever is important to you, if you love music, if you love art, if you love certain hobbies, what do you want your brand to actually mean? This is a very important question. So when you think about this, now, do any of you know anything about what you want your brand to mean? Is that a hard question? Yes. Oh, it's easy? So does everybody have their brand together? Yes and no. I see some no's, some yeses, and some people just looking at me like, why are you asking me that? There's too many people here to be asking me that. I understand. So you continually do. So no matter what you say, what you continually do as an entrepreneur, in your career, as a mom, as a dad, as a husband, as a wife, as a brother, as a sister, as a friend, what you continually do is shaping your brand. You know, it's interesting. You ever wonder sometime when you walk by and two people see you and they both know you and they're talking about you, and you wonder, when no one's around, what do they really feel about you? Who do they really feel you really are? What value do they think you bring to them? These are questions sometimes you have to think about, but we have to think about, what is our true brand? So in essence, are you already the brand that you want to be? Question. Are you? If you are, just say it. Are you all? Okay, yeah. So are you all right? So let me hear as a whole, are you already the brand you want to be? No. Okay, so most people say no. All right. Any yeses? Yes. Okay, let's see again. Okay, all right. So there's some. All right. If you're not the brand you want to be, here's a question. Are your actions leading you there? Are your actions? So, okay, they are. Huh? All right. All right. So I want y'all to let that marinate for a minute. They might be, but I want you to think about that a little bit. If you are not, are your actions leading you there? This is something to think about. So we talked. What's the name of this keynote again? You versus you. We went over the first you. That was your background, your childhood, your life experiences, even after childhood, the things that have happened to shape who you are. The second you is the you want to become. It's the you say you want to be. It's the person you're trying to, actually achieve things through. It's the one that you want to accomplish things. The battle is in the verses. When we say you versus you, the battle is in the versus part. You versus you mean there's a competition. So I want you to think for a minute. Who I am and what I've been is at war with who I want to become. This is the battle. We talk about you versus you. So I want you to consider this for a minute, because you are constantly at war with what you say you want to be, and really evaluating, what are you doing every day to get to that place, right? What are you really giving to actually get there? What investment are you making within yourself? And not only that, in the people that's around you. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So can you all say ant? How many of you here like ants? How many don't like ants? All right. So some of y'all going to start itching if I talk about them too much. So ants, when ants get to going, it's hard to stop them. And they're crawling everywhere and so forth. And my wife is in here somewhere. Where's she at? There she goes. One time we came home and there was some cinnamon rolls left out in this drawer, and these ants was all over the kitchen. And I'm thinking, all right, get something, let's do this. And my wife just went like this and walked out. She said, I'm sorry, I'm with you with everything. We've been through a lot together, but I can't deal with this. And she just walked out. I never saw her again. It did almost disrupted our marriage. Ants. But why? You just can't stand it. Did you know ants? I want you to remember ant to stand for automatic negative thinking. This is how we are wired. This is why it's a battle, because we all have a brain that automatically thinks negative. So you don't have to try. You don't have to, if you set out to do something as an entrepreneur, if you set out to be a better person, if you set out to be stronger, better, good at whatever, there's always going to be automatically a negative thought that tries to pull you back to say it's not possible, you can't do it, or this can't happen. Now, we know this is one of the reasons that there's a battle. And this is one of the reasons we talk about the versus and you versus you. So a question we have to ask is, how large is the gap between who you are and who you want to become? There's always a gap, but how large is that gap? How wide is that gap? And this is something that we all have to begin to measure and begin to think about. Now, how many of you feel like you need to narrow that gap a little bit more? Do y'all agree? All right, so there's some of you do. And so that gap, once you begin to narrow that gap more, it means you're getting closer. Now, when you think about who you want to become, that's in many different areas, right? It's not just one area. So you versus you, and the reason we're so excited about You Are CEO is because there's so many areas of our life that we need to achieve and get to that place that we talk about of who we want to become. Now, I want to talk about the power of decision because this is the most critical thing that I want you to take away. We talked about the first you. We talked about the second you. We talked about the verses that's between the two. But now, I want you to understand why we can win this battle. The reason we can win this battle is we all have the power of decision. Now say that with me, the power of decision. This means that the decider of everything you do is you. And because of that, that means I can make specific decisions that take me toward where I want to go. But then I got to know where to go. So let's talk about this. We talked about understanding you. We talked about becoming you, but in the middle is self. And this is the decision on the, in the middle that we have to deal with all the time to say, how much am I going to understand about who I am and stay focused on who I want to become? And what decisions do I make on a daily basis to move me toward that? Now, when you think about self for a minute, when we say you are a CEO, we really are talking about the fact that you are the only one that can make an executive decision on the inside about what you do. When you think about the specific goals, now, would anyone in here yell out some goals that they have? What's something that some of you want to accomplish? Anybody? What? Degree, all right. What else? Well, $400 million? Who said that? That'll be your friend. Okay, $400 million. Anybody else? Wealth. Debt free. That's a good one. Yeah, can we clap it up on debt free? Clap it up on debt free. All right, absolutely. Now, if I say I really want to do something, what is the greatest measure of how much I really want to do that? Your actions. My actions. Good. So if we know that, why is it that we struggle so much to do what we say we want to do? Fear. Procrastination. Good. Lack of discipline. You versus you problems. Good. Lack of resources. Sometimes it's a resource issue. So we have to first get the right information of what to do, but we have to remember that the decisions we make is going to determine which route we actually go. Now, when you think about that, here's something that's exciting. Can you all say neuroplasticity? One more time. Neuroplasticity. What that really means is the brain can change. So can you say the brain can change? So the brain is able to change. This is something that is really critical because what this means is if you create new patterns in your life, you can rewire the brain to start accepting new patterns different than what came to you through childhood, life experiences, and different trauma that may have come in your life. And listen, trauma is not always like my story of, what happened, domestic violence and all of that. Trauma could be just something that went the way you didn't want it to go. Trauma could be, sometimes you had everything, but you didn't really feel certain things that you needed were there. Whatever that means to you, the fact that we can rewire the brain is so critical. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about that, though. Think can lead to do. Do y'all think that's a true statement? Yes. What I think can lead to what I do? Yes. All right, so this is how it happens. I think, I feel, and normally that's what I do. I think about it, then I feel it, and then I go do it. So if I think I'm hungry, somebody in here hungry right now, let me be careful. I'm going to feel hungry, and then what I'm going to want to do? I'm going to want to eat, right? All these things are very simple to understand. But did you know that do can lead to think? What do y'all think that's true? So this is critical. We're talking about rewiring the brain. We're talking about change, and we learned a new word, neuroplasticity. All right. that means the brain can change. Now, so what this means, I can start doing something that makes me feel a certain way and starts to change how I think. Now, oh yeah, you clap it up for that. All right. Are there any moms in here? Any moms? Any moms? Okay, good. As a mom, do you ever have to act like a mom when you don't feel like acting like a mom? Okay, yeah, go clap. You clap it up for that. So that means sometimes if you said, I'm going to only do what I think, you have a problem. Because you said, I'm thinking about strangling this kid right now. But no, what do? You do what you should as a mom, and it begins to feel better that you did the right thing, and your thoughts begin to change, and you say, this is the time, I got to do the right thing, I got to be a good mother. I can say this in many examples of our life. Sometimes you say, how many of you believe in trying to be more fit and healthy? I hope there's somebody in here. Round of applause. You believe in being fit, healthy? All right. Good. All right. Is everybody here doing what they should do? Health and fitness completely? No flaws? Oh, really? Oh, is that true? Is that right? Everybody's on it. All right. Okay. So we'll go with it. We'll go with it. There's people in here that don't believe you. I'm one. But sometimes we all fall off. But do you think it's true that sometimes when you're trying to stay fit, when you're trying to do the right thing, you have to do what you don't want to do? And when you do what you don't want to do, then you start to feel good that you did what you did that you didn't want to do. And then you get new thoughts about what you did, and you start to create a new rhythm and a new pattern. And did you know you can actually get to the point where you feel bad that you didn't work out? You feel bad that you ate the wrong thing. That's not how you were. You created that. You made a change. You made a pattern. Now, some of you that know me, I share this all the time. I went through some health challenges. I said I was going to cut off sugar out of my life, and I started to do that. And listen, I'm full blown. I'm not a fake. I'm a real sugar person. And you got to be careful how you say that. Let me say, I'm talking about candy, donuts, things of that sort. Now, when you say, I gave something up and I was literally in the bed shaking because it was that hard to do. But you know what? I had to stop thinking about it because my thoughts would never tell me to keep going. I had to do it, change how I felt, change how I thought, and then keep that rhythm going until it created a pattern. This is what we're talking about. This is what is critical. So this part that you see here is the secret. The secret that we can change, the secret we don't have to stay the same is right there. And this is what we're talking about through You Are a CEO. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. You decide who comes into your office. As the CEO of your life, you decide who comes. When I talk about your office, the office of your mind, the office of your heart, the office of your thoughts, the office of who you are, you decide who walks in there. So this is why you have to really begin to assess when you think about a CEO. Now, can you all say C-suite? C-suite. Do y'all know what a C-suite is? Some business people in here might know, corporate folk. What's the C-suite? CEO. What else? CFO. CTO, I'm hearing a lot of C's. It's okay. And some people just looking at me like, would you just tell me what a C-suite is? A C-suite is, in business, a CEO normally has a group of people who all their titles begin with the letter C. That is a group of people they can depend on to help them make decisions for the business. So things like the chief financial officer, chief operations officer, chief marketing officer, so forth and so on. Now, when you think about these individuals, now, are there any entrepreneurs in the room? Some entrepreneurs in here? Okay, good. All right, good. Now, when you're an entrepreneur, who is the C-suite? It's you. You say, I'm going to go talk to the chief marketing officer, and you go to the stand to the side and say, Self, what are we going to do? Right? I'm going to go talk to the chief operations officer. It's you. You got to do it all because you can't afford all these roles. But I want you to think deeper about you. How do you make financial decisions for you? Chief Financial Officer saying we got to make smart decisions with the money to keep the business alive. We have to do that with ourselves. Operations is saying how productive are we? I have to look at my life and say how productive am I? What am I accomplishing? What am I doing? Marketing has to do with my brand, how I show up to others. I got to look at how I dress, how I carry myself, my communication. What does it say about who I am? This is all a part of that C-suite. Someone at administration, how I manage my time, how I get things done. Then strategy, where am I trying to go? What's my goal? And what is my route there? If I really want to accomplish this in my career, if I really want to accomplish this in my marriage, if I really want to get there at this specific hobby that I want to conquer, there's a specific roadmap. But what is the strategy to get there? And then, of course, the resources. This is looking at the people. What type of people do you need to get the job done? Now, do you think you can just let anybody influence you? No. You want to make sure the right people are the ones that are influencing you. Now, would you let somebody influence what they're trying to talk to you about? So would you let somebody who does not know what they're talking to, so you wouldn't let somebody tell you something that is not actually has some level of success in what they're telling you about? This is the things you have to evaluate. So I want you to think about this. As the CEO of your life, who is your C-suite? Who do you allow to influence your decisions? And then how do you fulfill these roles when it is up to you of what to do next? So this is something to keep in mind. Now, this is an area that I want to cover about taking advantage of your advantage. What we're trying to do here with You Are CEO is give people an advantage. If you had better wisdom about what to do in certain areas of life and business and your career, it puts you a step ahead of the competition. If you have access to a better environment, it puts you a step ahead of the competition. When we talk about that, Dr. King once said this: he who gets behind in a race must forever remain behind or run faster than the man in front. What do y'all think that means? What do you think that means? Pretty deep statement. What do y'all think it means? You got to pick up the pace. Good. If you stay where you are, you'll stay behind. Very good. So if I'm already behind, I can't just go to the normal pace that everyone else is going, or I'll stay where I'm at. It means I have to pick the pace up to be able to get in front of the person that I'm trying to, actually defeat. Now, when you think about this, I want you to think about that is what the advantage is. When you can take wisdom of others and you can get it when you need it, it can give you an advantage to catch up in areas that you might be behind. So environment means a lot. When we talked about the think, the feel, the do, and how that can lead you to success, the true foundation to all of that is environment. You have to be in an environment that is helping you to even generate the right thinking. So why do you feel people go to workshops and events like this, they get excited, they read a book, they see something online, and they go back home and do what? Nothing, right? They get on a high, they feel really good, and they're way up here, and then what happens? They begin to go back down, right? The reason is someone can give you whatever they want, but when you go back to the same environment, unless you're a very, very strong person, it gets hard to begin to push forward because that environment takes you back to the thinking you've always had. So what if somebody is irresponsible, lazy, and independable, and then they come into a lot of money? Does they do what are they now? What are they? Somebody said broke. You know what they are? They're a rich person who is irresponsible, those same characteristics, and that's why people get shocked and say, they spent all their money, or they did this, or they went and done something silly. Well, the person didn't change because money just allows us to be more of who we already are. So what are we saying? Environment has to be included in this whole equation, because if I don't, it's very hard to stick with the changes that we try to make. This is why environment is so critical. So when we talked about that bottom part of do to help change what we think, that is actually an environment. If you can be around a bunch of people that's doing, and they are tackling that bottom part, it's encouraging you to do the same thing. This is, again, why you, our CEO, is so important. This is what we're building. This is why we're here. So you, our CEO, is simply this: a community of self-leaders with access to exclusive tools that help us become the best version of ourselves. Now, we all have things we like about ourselves. We have things that we don't like or things that we want to make better. But I think we can all agree that we do want to be a better version of ourselves. We do want to be a better version of who we are now. Not trying to become someone else, but a better version of ourselves. So we are selfpreneurs first. Then we go into the corporate world and we can be entrepreneurs. Can y'all say entrepreneur? This is someone in a company that thinks like an entrepreneur. And then there's entrepreneurs. All of these three are important, but the foundation is being a selfpreneur. And I have a special heart for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs, these are individuals that I understand the struggle and the journey. And do you think as an entrepreneur you can only focus on business and not focus on your life? What do you think? If you have this scale and it's all out of balance, then what happens? You can create all this success in business and have no one to enjoy it with, because your marriage is gone, your kids is messed up, and everything is out of whack. Your health is gone. So you, our CEO, has another extreme focus, especially on helping entrepreneurs, because we want to see entrepreneurs not become victim to entrepreneurship. So when we say, you are a CEO, most entrepreneurs say, yes, I am. And then we say, you run the business of you. Saying, now this is more about, less about business and more about you. And so there are some secrets that you can understand, that if you get that life side right, you can be more successful on the business side, the career side, and the other things that you're trying to accomplish. So all of this is wrapped up in you, our CEO. It is time, and it is the moment for what I call the CEO ceremony. All right, are y'all ready? I said, are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? All right, as loud as you can. All right, be ready. Repeat after me. As of today, my past does not matter. I am officially stepping into my new position. I am powerful. I know what I have to do. I am smart. I am able. I refuse to look back. Anything that ever hurt me has now become my fuel. I will make no excuses. I am now a high achiever. I am now an executive. I am the CEO of me. All right, clap it up. Outstanding, outstanding. Clap it up. Self-leader. You are a CEO. Thank you so much. I'm Michael E. Parker. The movement has begun. Go out there and be the CEO of your life. You are a CEO. Let the whole world know that you are a CEO. May God bless you.